Hey, Grow family, I'm here with Caleb and Nicolette Hutcherson in Beirut, Lebanon. It is 9:10 in the morning our time. It is 7:10 p.m. their time. They have their kids quarantined in a back bedroom so that they can hopefully have a 15 to 20-minute conversation with us. How are you guys doing? It's been a chaotic couple weeks. Tell me about your last 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's been a little chaotic. That's a good word for it. We've just been trying to respond after the Beirut explosion at the port, and just immediately it was sort of like, what's going on today? How do we respond today? Really difficult to plan, even like more than a day out. And so we're just trying to respond and go down and help clean up in the area. Where the blast was, and clean up around our neighborhood. We had a little bit of damage in our house above the window and a back door this way that broke. So just kind of being involved in helping those ways. And then after a few days, started thinking about and working a little more medium term, I guess we're calling it, of finding ways of supporting and helping find shelter. Of some of our ministry partners were able to, the seminary where I teach, all of the rooms where students were but then left because of COVID-19, they're now empty. So the seminary was trying to house people. We're now sheltering people there at the seminary. So just finding all kinds of ways to try to help out in a multitude of ways.
So walk us through the day that it happened. Like, what time of day was it? It was in the afternoon. Is that right for you guys?
It was 6:07 p.m. So we had just gotten home. I had just gotten home from basketball with the kids, and Caleb and I were just sitting on this couch right here, just kind of relaxing. Kids were just kind of around the house. I don't know. Isla was in the shower when we felt a shudder, like an earthquake. And it was just long enough that I looked at Caleb and I said, do you feel that? And I'm looking behind the couch thinking maybe our dog is like scratching himself and hitting the couch and shaking the couch. And just as we both realized, like, no, that was something, the ground started to shake again. So we stood up, and then just a huge blast hit us. We've got these vents above our windows that blasted open. So we were covered in dust. Kids are screaming. We're all screaming. Ran into the bathroom just in case there was another. We thought it was a bomb just right around the corner. That's how powerful it was. So Caleb was opening windows. Kids and I were hiding in the bathroom until we kind of felt like it was safe to come out. And then it was just shock. We were in shock. For those of you who haven't seen, it was, people are saying, the biggest explosion after like the nuclear bombs. So it was huge. So the next day was just still shock, just start doing something. We have to clean, we have to help, and it was a good week of that, just kind of numbness, and we don't even know how to respond. It was a terrible accident, potentially. We don't really know what it was, but they're saying an accident, terrible accident, and just destruction like I've never seen. 15 years of civil war, and they say this is the worst thing that's ever happened to the city. So
For me, growing up overseas and spending a lot of time traveling, you see a lot of stuff like this. And when I was over there visiting you guys, you said you kind of have it down to a system of when something happens, to open the windows, run to the bathroom. But this must have felt so different.
Yeah, and I mean,
Or not.
I think the initial reaction actually reminded us a lot of another bomb that happened in 2013, about 600 meters from our apartment. So the immediate kind of feeling was, we know exactly what this is. This is a bomb, and everybody get to the bathroom. And at that period, back in 2013, there were all kinds of different bombs like that had happened. Some would be two right in a row, and so that sort of, it's in your mind, like, get the windows open. There might be more. Stay away from the window. All of those kinds of things that you're just running through your head, and people outside yelling and just trying to figure out what's going on. Now we have Twitter, and so everybody's jamming the internet, getting on Twitter, and trying to figure out the immediate sort of what's happening. So.
But then when we saw the first videos, it was like, this is nothing like we've ever seen before. It's just massive and devastating.
2.5 miles from your house, right?
Yeah. at the pictures of the port, I think many people have seen it. There's that big white tower thing where all of our wheat silo is there. And that actually, our part of the city is behind that. So we were protected. If that hadn't been there, this whole side of the city would have been destroyed.
Wow. And your kids, how are they doing through the process?
Well, they've. I think the first few moments were pretty heavy, and so we threw them behind an iPad, put on Netflix, and just had them like zone out as we were trying to just figure out what was going on. But then, we processed with them, and we're pretty intentional about like talking about, to the degree that they were open and able to, like, what did you guys feel? What are you afraid of right now? And what do you remember? And just talking through those things, and then also sort of intentionally involving them in cleanup in ways that were appropriate for them. Not going into buildings where there was trails of blood, but going and helping clean out a church or, someplace like that it was, let's sweep up this glass and help these people, and sort clothes for donations, and go paint, walls up at the seminary so people can stay here. So we got them kind of involved in some of those ways to a degree. And then also in some ways, they forced us to take a bit of a break, to step back. So there were days where they needed to not. And so we just would stay at home and more manage communications. I'm still teaching my course for the seminary. So all of those things still needed to keep going. We'd just stay at home for a day and have a bit of a break. So sort of the long-term being here over, a long time, that break you realize is necessary in order to continue helping over the long term.
Well, we've been praying for you. A lot of people here at the Grove may not even realize that Caleb was one of our original Grove members 16, 17 years ago, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
And maybe farther back.
Yeah.
And so I think there's just been this, one of the things that I've talked about is trying to just hold up people that are standing on the front lines, and however we can. I just want you to know we've been praying for you guys through this process. But it's this, we were talking briefly on, it's not just about the explosion, but your economy and COVID and a political revolution is going on as well. There's this feeling of when you run a half marathon or a marathon where you just feel like you're done. You guys must feel like you've ran 4 of those back to back to back to back. Explain a little bit to our people, like, what's going on in the country and the feeling there.
Yeah, so in October of last year, our revolution started. And it started off with this, it was a beautiful, very hopeful movement. In fact, we were down on the streets with our kids multiple times, kind of at the beginning. It managed to get the government to resign, which was one positive step. And then it all just kind of fell apart. And so after that, when the hope was lost and it got violent and there was tear gas and shooting and these kinds of things, the banks started putting capital controls on people. So basically, so you've got this revolution, and now all of a sudden you have no access to your money. So there were probably 3 months where we couldn't get any money out of the bank. They stopped allowing people to take the dollars. And so because of that, the economy just collapsed. So the value of the money now is how many times? It's
80. It's lost 80%.
It's lost 80% of its value. So everything is expensive. The money doesn't go very far at all. And we don't have access to the money that we had in the bank. So just all this crazy financial, economic stuff. And then COVID hit and we went into lockdown. Schools stopped at the end of February. And then shortly after that, the borders closed. So we've got just these multiple crises that keep coming on top of each other. And just when you kind of feel like, okay, we're catching a breath, something else happens. So the summer we were kind of coming out of lockdown, the airport opened, and then actually we went back into lockdown because the COVID cases were rising, and then the explosion hit. We just can't catch a breath. And it feels like the revolution knocked us down, and then we were, fell a little bit more. We were barely on our knees, and then the explosion just pulled everything out from under us. So It's been rough. We're back in lockdown now, actually, 2 weeks of quarantine. Although relief work is exempt, so we can still go down and help anything like disaster related. But other than that, we're stuck at home.
Nightly curfew started at 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. You're not supposed to be outside on the streets.
Because of the explosion, because of the protests?
Yeah, that's the, there's a lot of, I wouldn't say conspiracy theory, but just realistic people looking at the situation, and the government benefits by having lockdown and by having people not out on the streets protesting, because the government, in a lot of ways, there's a lot of suspicion about the government's negligence that caused the explosion. That really lies at the really the cause of that. And so that just reignited the revolution that was calling for the fall of the government and a redoing of the entire system of governance here in Lebanon. So all of those were mixed together, and then you have lockdown, which suspiciously coincides with the need for the government to be able to clamp down on protesting. So it's all sort of mixed together, and this is the intrigue right now.
But the COVID cases are rising. I mean, you had 300,000 people displaced in a half second, and hospitals. I mean, we had hospitals destroyed. Like 13, I think, hospitals in the city were damaged. Several of them just completely gone. And so you've got all these people with terrible injuries that are getting treated without any kind of precautions. So at the same time, the COVID numbers are just shooting up. And it's all sorts of things. It's not just one thing. It's a lot of things.
Yeah.
Well, what do you guys need? What can we do from however many miles away we are? How can we pray for you? How can we lift you up? What can we do?
Yeah, definitely. As you have been, praying is actually really significant. We've felt that. We've really valued the prayers and just the encouraging notes and encouragement that we've been that's been directed towards us. So we really appreciate that. I think giving is one of the other things that we've mentioned in times like these. We had a Good Samaritan Fund type thing set up, and a number of people have already given to that, and that's already supporting families who are sheltering at ABTS, the seminary, supporting donations, food, and rebuilding, putting in windows and closing in some of the houses that were damaged, and then rebuilding some of the churches too that we're connected with.
So this is all disaster relief, this fund, correct?
Yeah, it is. A lot of the funding it's really focused around things that are specifically related to the explosion, the after effects of that. So housing, shelter for people who are immediately displaced, rebuilding, putting in windows and doors, helping close in houses that were damaged but are able to be repaired. Fixing some of the churches that were damaged or destroyed, just a number of kinds of immediate projects like that. And then we hope too to kind of think more long-term about development, ways of helping in more medium-term or long-term development.
Grove people, if you want to give to that, right here at the bottom of the screen, you can donate. We'd love to have you help out with that. We have a team still coming. It's been put on hold. You'll have work for us eventually when we get there, I'm hoping.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Last thing, this may bring chaos. Can your kids come out and say hi or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that all right? Never really know what happens when we do this. Hi guys. How are you?
Good.
How's the back room? Were you guys locked up in the back room?
Yeah. With Chewy.
Chewy, that's your dog's name?
Yeah.
Yep.
I just want to say hi, guys. You doing okay?
Yeah.
You watching a movie? Did you watch any movies today?
2 days ago we watched Lilo and Snitch.
Lilo and Stitch.
Stitch?
Would you rather be Lilo or would you rather be Stitch?
I don't know. None.
Stitch. You're Stitch.
All right.
You read a bunch today.
What'd you read?
What did?
I finished a book.
Which
Which
one?
one?
Harry Potter.
Harry Potter, which one?
First.
The first one. Have you never read it? Never? Did you like it?
Never.
That's good.
Yeah, I read about a million zillion books, like always. And
Yeah.
went shopping with mommy.
You went shopping? For what? For food?
Oh yeah, that too.
I just want to come over and go out to dinner with you guys again.
The restaurants are all closed.
I gained 10 pounds when I was in Lebanon.
Yeah, easy to do.
Well, I just wanted to say hi, guys. Wanted you to know that we're praying for you guys. See you guys. Caleb, Nicolette, thank you guys so much. We're praying for you. I'm glad that you guys are safe, that your kids are doing okay. As a missionary kid, you're in the right place. You're doing the right thing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. It's good to see you.